ways to cut back on their water use to help stave off having to go into stage 2 of the drought. As drought conditions unfortunately have worsened, we find it necessary to take the next step in our drought response. Here to tell us more what that means for water users in Wichita is City Manager Bob Layton.
Thank you, Mayor Wu. As the mayor referenced, we have been in a stage 1 drought for a period of time. Actually, it was January of 2023 that we first declared stage 1. After a year and a half of diminished water levels at Cheney Reservoir, extreme heat, and less rainfall than average, it's now an appropriate time for us to take the next step and declare stage 2 of the drought. To provide some context for our decision to move into stage 2, I'd like you to take a look at this chart, which shows the level of Cheney for the last 60 days. On the top left corner is where we were in terms of percentage of our conservation pool at Cheney on June 1st of this year, and that was at a little over 68%. As of 2 days ago, we were at 62%, and I think we've actually dropped below that in the last 2 days. And that is through water usage as well as evaporation from the heat that we've had. As you can see, it's a very dramatic drop in terms of our water levels at Cheney, and that really has necessitated or led to the action that we're taking today. Wichita will enter stage 2 of the drought on Monday, August 5th. And we'll enact mandatory outdoor watering restrictions at that time. Under stage 2, mandatory outdoor watering restrictions are in effect for all Wichita Water customers, residential, commercial, and wholesale customers. We want to curb our outdoor watering through the remainder of irrigation season, and we will reevaluate at the end of the next 2 months where we stand in terms of water conservation. And we're shooting for a 10% reduction in our use of water during that period of time. We must all come together to change our lawn care practices in order to preserve our most precious resource, and that is drinking water in this community. We're probably going to have to get used to brown lawns in order to make sure that we have safe drinking water for all of our residents. At this time, we are not moving forward with a tier rate increase, which we were originally considering because we know we need immediate impact, and that's why we're going to the stage 2 restrictions. However, we're not ruling out rate increases or adjustments in the future, depending on how these restrictions work over the next few months. So let's just talk real quickly about the mandatory water restrictions and what that means. All outdoor water usage is prohibited between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. Our outdoor irrigation is limited to 1 day per week, determined by your location in the community. Monday, residents northwest of Central and Broadway will be able to water, and that includes businesses as well. On Tuesday, northeast of Central and Broadway will be allowed to water. On Wednesday, southwest of Central and Broadway, residents and businesses will be able to water. And then Thursday, southeast of Central and Broadway will be the area for watering. No watering will be allowed on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. This is going to be applicable to all of our commercial and residential customers, and to all the residents that live in other communities that receive their water from the city of Wichita. Residents on well water or who use well water for irrigation are encouraged to conserve as much as possible, but they are exempt from stage 2 outdoor watering restrictions because that water does not impact Cheney or the Aquas beds. Customers with water usage complaints or those who have drought concerns may report them on the Wichita Report app, or they may call our call center at 316-942-4482. And we will investigate any complaints of watering outside of these restrictions. We've also got a list of frequently asked questions on SaveWichitaWater.com. And I'm going to ask Megan Lovely from our communications team to talk here in a few minutes about other ways that residents can get information about the drought restrictions and things they can do to help reduce their water usage. Wichita Public Works staff, as I said, will monitor not just complaints, but also we will look at accounts for our users to determine to determine the accounts where there's excessive water use and send first a warning letter to anyone who has exceeded the water use targets, and then that'll be determined, that's in our ordinance, and that's required written warning for the first violation. Second violation will then be accompanied by a $50 fine, and the third and ongoing violations after that will be a $100 fine. Water is a crucial shared resource, and it's up to each of us to conserve water. We are asking every household and business in the community to curb their everyday use by 10%, in addition to the outdoor irrigation restrictions that we put in place. However, we're hoping to get voluntary compliance with that. We're all in this together in our shared goal to conserve water and to safeguard our most important treasure or resource. We will continue to share tips and resources for Wichita Water customers to be water conscious and find ways to conserve water. As a reminder, the City of Wichita enacted Stage 2 restrictions for its own operations very early. In fact, as the mayor referenced, some of those as soon as we entered into Stage 1. Those included planting drought-resistant grasses on our golf courses, utilizing gray water to help water our trees, mowing our grass or turf at a higher level, and where possible, even installing artificial turf, which we've done, for instance, at our splash pads. We've also turned off all of our city fountains, and we're implementing conservation-minded landscaping practices that use mulch, native plants, and heat-tolerant landscaping. I'm also announcing that we're going to cut our swimming pool season short this year. We have a regular season that will end in 2 weeks, and at that time, we will stop our operation. Normally, we would go on weekends through Labor Day, but unfortunately, a significant amount of water is lost during that weekday period through evaporation, and so we don't think it was prudent on our part to be able to continue to operate the pools through Labor Day. Now with that, what I'd like is Megan to come up and just talk a little bit about the resources that we have available.
We really want to point residents and all water users to SaveWichitaWater.com. We've been populating that with a variety of tips and tricks to save water even outside of water irrigation. We also have downloadables with FAQs about drought stage 2. We have draft signs that people can download if they are on a well to display in their yard on a variety of sizes, as well as flyers if you choose to display that in your business. We also have yard signs that we've displayed at city facilities and fountains in the past. We're going to be redistributing those. And anyone who wants a yard sign can email us on that form on SaveWichitaWater.com. And there's just a variety of tips. If you, like me, don't water your lawn at all, there's ways that we can save water as well. A lot of them are very common sense. Shut off the faucet when you're brushing your teeth. Take shorter showers. Only run your dishwasher or clothes washer when it's completely full. So we really want people to take those steps to conserve.
Thank you, Megan. Mayor, if it's okay, at this time we'll take questions. I have staff members from the Public Works and Utility Department here to answer technical questions, and I can talk about the restrictions if you'd like as well. Yes?
Are these warnings sent out to residents a new part of the stage 2 drought, and what flags those warnings?
What was the second part of your question?
And what levels of water usage would flag those warnings?
Okay, so if I understand the question, these are These stage 2 restrictions are in our drought plan, so they're not new in that regard, but they are new in terms of being applied. And so as of Monday, they'll be in effect throughout the community. And as I said, we're asking all of the communities that purchase water from us to also have similar restrictions in place starting next week. In terms of the flag, if someone were to call and say, I see a business that is watering every day of the week, or if they call and say someone is watering during a rainstorm, those are good examples of what we consider to be abusive watering. We will go out and we actually have a way of, by looking at our water meter use, we can determine whether or not there's validity to the complaint. As I said, we'll give everybody a warning first so that they understand, if maybe they don't understand our restrictions, we'll make sure that they do, and then anything after that, they will be penalized. Yes?
What percentage of Wichita's water use is from the types of residential lawn maintenance that is controlled by these restrictions?
That's a great question. I can tell you that 20% of our water users are in tiers 2 and 3, and those are our heaviest water users. So only 20% in that area, but that's a significant amount of water that they use. Gary, I don't know if there's any specific other information. That'll give you an idea of magnitude. 80% of our residents are probably not regular irrigators. And if they are, they're probably within these restrictions. Yes?
To your knowledge, have we been in stage 2 before or in recent history?
I don't believe so. We were very close in 2013, and that's actually the last time the council made modifications to the drought plan. Yes?
If these restrictions, the water levels continue to keep plummeting after these restrictions, what are some of the next steps that the city would look into after this?
That's actually a discussion about moving into stage 3. And with that, Gary or Don, do you want to talk about stage 3 restrictions?
Thank you, Manager. As the manager mentioned, and we're already looking and projecting when stage 3 could be here, based on current conditions, based on what's happening with the lack of precipitation. Right now, we're estimating we could enter stage 3 as early as September of next year. Stage 3 restrictions, first and foremost, eliminates all outdoor water usage. So there's still some exemptions in place for businesses who utilize water as part of their economic model, as part of running their business, but more than anything, all outdoor water usage would be banned in stage 3.
Why is the city backing away from tiered rate increases that were discussed earlier this month?
As I mentioned earlier, that we need immediate assistance, or we need immediate conservation. And if we went to a change in our tier billing, we probably wouldn't get that implemented until September, so we missed all of August. And based on that chart, you can imagine where we would be with Cheney levels if we had to wait another 30 days. So it's the immediacy. I'm not ruling out that we will need a rate increase or change, but we want to see, well, first of all, how these restrictions work before we ask the council to make that decision.
Can you just break down what all non-crucial watering is? It says all outdoor non-crucial watering for all, so like what exactly non-crucial watering is?
Well, yeah, yep.
And I'd invite Gary or Don to add to my comments as well if there's anything I'm missing. What we're really focused on is irrigation as the largest use of non-necessary water use. We believe that we'll have significant changes through this schedule of 1 day a week. But if there are other outdoor watering activities that people could cut, for example, like us, if you want to close down your personal pools early, we would encourage that conservation behavior as well.
Other questions?
Why are certain businesses, I was looking at the website, this was before it got updated this morning, but there's certain businesses that are exempt from this,
Yes.
including car washes and golf courses. Why is that?
Apologize, I should have my book. We do have several businesses that are exempt. This was outlined in 13 when the council adopted the changes to the drought plan, and it was based on a significant amount of feedback, not just from residents, but from businesses in the community. These are businesses that generate their core economic activity from the use of outdoor water. It's still a relatively limited number of businesses, but you're right. Golf courses are included, car washes, but car washes have to have recycled water facilities built into their operations. Nurseries and sod suppliers, those are the ones that are primarily listed as the exemptions. Thank you. Good question.
Would you please also mention community gardens and any food producing behavior is also exempt?
You just did, thank you. Yes?
Yeah, I was wondering for those businesses that are, rely on the water usage for their primary, commercial function.
Yep.
Is there any, influence or pressure recommendations you can put on those businesses to reduce their water output as much as they're able to?
I mentioned we're asking everyone, regardless of what business they're in, and all residents to reduce their consumption by 10%. So we're asking whether it's an industrial water user or a commercial, and even some of these exempt businesses, we're asking them to try to get us 10% reduction in order to help us. And that will keep us from moving quickly into a stage 3 situation.
And this also applies to the 11 wholesale customers, right, like the city of Derby and?
It does. These restrictions we've asked them to implement those restrictions as well. Yeah. Yes?
On the website, it says that district stage 2 will be reevaluated in September. What kind of things, what kind of discussions will happen in September, and what aspects are you looking at?
Well, there are a number of measures that we're going to take into account. One will be the Cheney level and see where we are at the end of that period of time. We'll also look at what our total reduction has been and how close we came to the 10% target. And those are probably two of the major factors that we'll be looking at. Again, all of this scenario changes in April when the new water plant comes into play, because we'll have we won't have to rely as much on Cheney. We still have to be careful in terms of the Cheney levels, because it's still a very important water source to us. But we will have other options, groundwater options, that will allow us a little more relief. But again, we'll factor that in. Right now, we need to figure out where we are in October 1st before we ever start talking about April. Thank you.
Is there a certain time people should shoot for in their zone when they're watering? I mean, different zones, or everybody's stuff is different?
Not an expert in that regard, but if you remember, K-State Extension did appear last week and address the council. They recommended water use be early morning hours, probably the best time, that overnight watering could actually lead to disease in the turf. So that's their recommendation, early morning.
Plus, in our ordinance, it is required that you are only allowed to water per your schedule between the hours of 8 p.m. and 10 a.m.
Right.
And we encourage early morning.
Yep. And the 10 a.m. makes a lot of sense, because later in the day, you lose too much to evaporation, and it doesn't get to the plants or to the grass. Other questions? Yes?
If you're already projecting to potentially hit stage 3 next fall, are there any bigger picture conservation initiatives that you could be looking into to wholesale reduce water use?
Yeah, I'm not sure the premise of the question is accurate. We're not projecting we'll get to stage 3. If nothing changes, that could get us to stage 3. These restrictions and our plea for everyone to reduce their use by 10%, that hopefully will get us where we don't have to move into stage 3. And again, we're also hoping that our new plant, which comes online in April, will move the needle as well. So trying not to get to stage 3, but we really do need voluntary consumption. We need people to be water conscious. They need to think about how they're using water day in and day out. Well, thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you again to City Manager Bob Layton and staff regarding water conservation. Again, I'm going to remind community to look at the website, savewichitawater.com, for further information regarding conservation tips, as well as some of the information that you see right here with the Cheney water levels. This is again a plea from not just the city of Wichita, but from council members as well, that we want to see water conservation be top of mind for all residents, and that we can all try to curb the numbers so that we don't hit stage 3. But again, stage 2 will be in effect starting on Monday. And I just wanted to, again, it's Thursday, so I always share some good news. We just announced the launch of Love Kansas at Wichita State University. This is a statewide initiative from the Kansas Department of Commerce. Councilmember Glasscock and I were there to launch this new initiative to bring back Kansans to our state. If you've been educated in Kansas, if you've worked in Kansas, if you have any ties to our community, we hope that you will boomerang back to the state of Kansas. And just like that, we had an effort of really trying to bring back not just Kansans, but also bring new Kansans into our community. So I just had the opportunity to return from the 2024 Farnborough International Air Show in London. And to give you an idea of the scale of that international event, this year's show actually provided more than $100 billion in transactions right there at that international air show. And if we're the air capital of the world, and we are, with the 450 plus supplier network in the state of Kansas, we had a strong showing as a state and as a South Central Kansas and Wichita community to preserve our place as the air capital of the world and attempt to grow our economy. The Greater Wichita Partnership did a fantastic job organizing an impressive Wichita contingent that also included Wichita State University, NIAR, WSU Tech, and others. I was also very appreciative to be the ambassador for our community of Wichita alongside City Manager, Assistant City Manager Troy Anderson, and Sedgwick County Commissioner Pete Meitzner. Kansas was also well represented by Kansas Governor Laura Kelly and Senator Jerry Moran. There are some exciting developments for Wichita that we hope to announce very soon, and it is an extremely important part of economic development to show up as the air capital of the world at major international events. And we look forward to the Paris International Air Show next year to again continue strengthening our air capital of the world stance amongst our community of Wichita, in the state of Kansas, in the United States, and across the world. So again, thank you for the opportunity to represent our community abroad. And again, if there are opportunities to share your stories about why you love Kansas, this initiative of Love Kansas is an opportunity for you to remind Kansans, former ones, to come back home. If there are any other questions, we will take them. If not, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.